Namaste. So, I don't usually comment on social trends or politics or current events. I like to take the long view, try to get the big picture, and give some perspective. But I feel a need to clarify what's going on in society everywhere from an enlightened perspective. So let's go back to the 60s. Huh? You want to know how and why things have gotten so screwed up? I'll tell you exactly. Back in the 60s, Western culture was given an opportunity to change course. Those of you who were there, who survived it, huh, know that many teachers came from India. And of course, they were of varying quality. Some were better and some were worse, and some were more enlightened or less enlightened, whatever. Or their teachings were narrower or broader. I visited most of these teachers, and if I couldn't visit them, I would read their books and so on. And after looking over the whole scene, my life directed me to my guru. I was studying music with Ali Akbar Khan, the Sarodist. And he told me one day, you're not cut out to be a concert musician. Your heart is much too soft. You should be a temple musician. I said, I have no idea how to be a temple musician. I don't even know what it is, really. He said, no, I'll introduce you to someone who can show you. So he introduced me to my Adi Guru, Srila Prabhupada. And indeed, he did show me how to be a temple musician and many other things. So he was, in my opinion, the best of the many teachers who came in that wave. But what happened? Americans, there is no such thing as a society. That's a generalization. It's an abstraction. It's a symbol of the majority view. That's all. So what happened in America in the 60s is that the individuals voted against Vedic spirituality. They voted against stopping meat eating and all these nasty things. You see? Everybody got it. My guru made sure almost everybody in America got an opportunity to read the Vedic scriptures. You may not agree with his opinions. Heck, I don't even agree with all his opinions. But at least he gave everyone an opportunity to connect with the source of immense spiritual knowledge. But what happened is nobody really took him up on it, except a few disciples. Now let's go back. Let's just take one thing: meat eating. Meat eating, if you analyze it karmically, is the cause of war. Why do human beings go crazy and kill each other? For no good reason. It's karmic. They're driven to it. They can't help themselves. And why is that? because they have killed or benefited from the killing of so many innocent animals. It's a terrible crime because we are supposed to be, I mean, they justify this by saying that the Bible tells us that humanity is to be the stewards of the earth. But that means you're supposed to be responsible for it. If you cut a tree down, plant 3 more. That's what the Native Americans did. In subtribes, they would plant 10 more. But really, if you cannot replace an animal that's been killed. Huh? One time, the Buddha was traveling and he heard about this madman, a serial killer called Angulimala. Anguli means fingers, and mala means a necklace, like a string of beads. But he had a string of fingers around his neck from all his murder victims. He would kill them and cut the finger and put it on the necklace. Great guy, right? So he was terrorizing this area. And the people went to the Buddha and they said, "Oh, you should leave here. This is a cursed place. This is an evil place. There's a madman. He's killing everybody." The Buddha said, "Oh?" And he went to investigate. So Angulimala, he had taken a vow to kill 1,000 people. And he had killed 999 people, including his own mother. So this is a real piece of work, this guy. But what did the Buddha do? The Buddha went right up to him and said, "Why are you doing this? You should stop. I have stopped." See, who is the Buddha? The Buddha is the prince regent. He's going to be king. He's trained in all the Kshatriya arts, including fighting. He knows how to kill people. He's expert. So if he wanted to kill people, he could go out and kill much more than 1,000. So he's looking at Angulimala and saying, "I stopped. You should stop." Angulimala stopped. He stopped at 999. He didn't kill the Buddha. So, you see, a real spiritual person doesn't judge others according to morality, according to social position, economic position, any of that external stuff. He sees the inner quality, the opportunity to attain enlightenment, and he guides the person in that way. So actually, Angulimala, not only did he reform himself, he did a lot of penance. He did many public works, welfare works for the public, the citizens. And then at the end of his life, he attained Arahant. So, you see, anyone can be reformed if they're willing to follow the instructions. But when my guru and many other teachers came to the West, they offered an opportunity to stop the killing. Very well reasoned, very nicely presented, and backed by the authority of the most ancient spiritual tradition alive on the planet. But people didn't take it. They chose not to. I remember, when was it? I think it was in the early 80s. I had a dream, which was more like a vision, actually, of being in a vast auditorium. Think of the Galactic Council in Star Wars, huh? This huge space just filled with people. And way, way, way down in the middle, in the center, where everybody could. It was like Madison Square Garden, if you've ever been to New York. Uh, the fighting ring is way, way, way down in the middle, and everybody's seated up on the sides of this shell, right? So, in the middle there were these leaders. And you could say they were the leaders of good and evil, the gods and the demons. And they're negotiating. And they can't come to any conclusion. They can't make any settlement. So they stand up and say, well, we can't agree. That means there has to be a war. And one party walks out one side, the other party walks out the other side. And then everybody in this huge amphitheater follows the leaders that they chose. The good or the evil. The pro-life or the killers. And then I saw so many people that I was close to, my family members, my ex-wives, even my own son, following the evil people. I called out to them. I was in the other line. I was going the other way. And they were passing by, going to hell. And I said, don't you see you're following the wrong path? Don't you see there's going to be consequences? You're going to suffer? Huh? And they didn't listen. That's been the problem in the West. The people chose evil. They chose killing. Now the karma is coming back. So these guys who do these school shootings and all that, they can't help themselves. They're not responsible. They're being driven by the karma of the whole society. They have become the agents of this karma. I'm not saying that they're not responsible for their actions. Of course they are. But they're being driven to do that by a very strong force, which is very difficult to overcome. And that is the mass karma of the whole society. Or I should say the majority karma of the people in that area. Whenever there's suffering and violence, it's always karmic. Nobody wants it, really, if you ask them. But then they go and do it anyway. Why? They can't help themselves. So the choice point, the inflection point for the environment, for the economy, for the society, for religion, for art and culture was passed back in the 60s. It was at that point that the majority of the Western society voted to be evil. And now we're experiencing the consequences. I've been saying this. I've been telling this to all my friends, whoever would listen, since back then. And it's not like I'm trying to say I told you so, but I did. Not only I did, my guru did, my teachers did. So many holy people who came, risked their lives to come to the West. They all gave good instructions. The Vedas, the Buddha, they all give very good instruction. But nobody follows it. Or they pretend to follow it while actually doing something else. See? So what can you do? As an individual, You can remove yourself from the mass karma. You can rid yourself of the causes of suffering. But only an individual can do it, and only they can do it for themselves. Nobody can do it for them. No teacher, no master, no God, no guru can zap you and get rid of your karma. You have to work that out. We have that knowledge, but you have to take it up and not get distracted by all this nonsense modern culture. All this ignorance that's going around. You have to approach someone with knowledge and take the instruction and then implement it in your own life. That's the only thing that's going to help. Om Tat Sat. Buddhu Saranai.